Welcome to the AMP Members Roundtable Series, Episode 11. I'm Stephanie Decker, a 25-year member.
I'm Alicia Yust. I'm the Senior Manager of Learning and Development at AMP, and I've been with AMP for 13 years.
And I'm Pam Nicoletti. I'm the Senior Director of Global Operations. My role at AMP is to oversee the delivery of training worldwide. Today we're joining you from the Alcometer building. This is one of our typical classrooms. We have 6 classrooms here on site. We welcome about 5,200 students a year to this facility here in Houston. And we're just thrilled to be here with Stephanie to talk to you today.
Awesome.
Thanks, Stephanie.
We're going to start with some questions we've received from members. Alicia, we'll start with you on this one. What can you tell us to kind of bring us back to the merger when Legacy NACE CIP program and Legacy SSPC PCI program bringing us to the relaunch of the AMP CIP Level 1 course, kind of where we started and where we are now at this relaunch.
Sure. The coding inspection industry is just like any other industry. It continues to grow and to evolve. New best practices come forward, new technology comes out, equipment changes and gets updated. And so we were starting to receive feedback from industry, from students, that they were looking for some different things in the course. You know, some areas that were outdated. There's some new equipment on the market that they wanted to see showcased in the course that they were using out in the field. And so we pulled together a group of members, take a look at the content in the course and really what the future needed to be for the course. And at the same time, we had the merger between AMP and SSPC going on in the background. And so that really gave us the perfect opportunity to take an even larger look at this course and bring in more members, get more feedback. And SSPC had a coding inspection course called PCI. And so we were able to take the best of PCI with the best of CIP and put it together to get one best-in-class, world-class program that really represented the best of both associations as the new AMP.
Awesome. When that was launched, the new AMP CIP program, if I were a member with a NACE CIP certification, what happens with my certification? Does it automatically move to the AMP? Does it roll over? What is the process like for me if I held that NACE CIP certification?
So the process is relatively unchanged. If you held a NACE CIP certification before, you will continue to hold an AMP certification. So the only difference was the name change, got updated to Basic Coding Inspector, but the process is exactly the same. So there's no change. Everything's automatic.
Okay, and so does that also apply to the SSPC PCI certification? Same answer for that?
Yes.
Is it automatic or do I have to do anything?
They don't have to do anything. You don't have to retest. When your certification is up for renewal, you will get a new card that says AMP on it rather than SSPC.
Okay.
And Stephanie, I want to add that all the members that were involved in the transition committee, what they really wanted to do with the CIP certifications and the PCI certifications is ensure that we had the least disruption to people holding those certifications. So that's why they transitioned into the new AMP certification, and we're really happy that it's not going to impact people and their careers. It's going to allow them to hold that exact same certification as they earned before.
So as their certification from a legacy program expires, there's not a gap in that when it rolls right over to the new?
They'll automatically transition into the new one.
Okay. Pam, speaking of new,
Okay.
what's new in the CIP Level 1 for the AMP, the new relaunch CIP Level 1?
Right, yeah. So Alicia's team did an amazing job leading kind of a 2.5-year transition into the new course. So I'm gonna let you highlight the new things in it, and I'll happily add in, but I know your team really led that effort.
Yeah.
So
one of the things that we heard from students in their surveys, we do a survey at the end of every class, so they had 2 big asks that we saw repeatedly. One, they wanted color manuals, and 2, they wanted more equipment, more hands-on time. That is the hallmark of this program, is the fact that it is very real life. We put them through lots of practice labs that put them in real life situations. So they are out there taking dry film thickness measurements, doing holiday testing, just like they would do out in the field. And they wanted more of that. So we went from 5 labs, and we've increased that up to 9 labs to give them more experience with the equipment. So when they are going out in the field after they complete their course, they're more comfortable, they're ready to go out there and contribute and make meaningful impact immediately.
So Stephanie, one of the questions we receive frequently is, we had transitioned to a 5-day course under what was an ACIP level 1, and of course PCI was also 5 days. And as Alicia and her team looked at the content and looked at this new course, the discussion was, can we teach this in 5 days, and should we teach this in 5 days? And the answer that they kept coming back to was, we can't teach all the content we need to teach in 5 days. So the new course is 6 days. And it's 6 days because we want to ensure that students are getting all that hands-on practice and that lab and that classroom experience to make sure we're giving them the best we can. Students still have an option to take the first 3 days online and then to come for the 3 days in the classroom. But ultimately, you know, it's going to be 6 days. I know, and we get a lot of questions about that. And I just want your audience and our audience to know that it's 6 days because that's what the classroom, the content dictated.
Speaking of the equipment and additional time, I know that y'all worked on some additional videos and graphics on the equipment from the manufacturers. What can either one of you tell us about that?
Well, that was probably the third ask from students on their wish list, was to have more videos. And students learn better when you can reach them from different points. So you want them to be able to pick up and hold equipment and use it. You want them to be able to see, so if they can see it on a video being used and how to set it up, how to take measurements, then they can also read it. And at the same time, they've got the instructors there telling them, so you're hitting all the different sensory elements, and that helps the students really retain that content. And we wanted the pictures and the graphics and the drawings to all to be very real life. You know, none of the cartoon drawings or something that looked like it came from 1980. So we went out to industry and we were like, send us your best photos, show us what you do. And that really helps those students, especially those that are new to the industry, get a feel for what they're going to be doing, because this is brand new to them. So this gets them excited when they can see that.
And I want to just, Stephanie, highlight, shout out to the manufacturers, not because you're with Tinker and Razor, by the way, but because the ask was the students and instructors wanted double the amount of equipment, not 1 or 2 extra instruments, double the amount of equipment. And the manufacturers were gracious and worked with us not only to give us that equipment, but to create these videos for us. And so now we're able to give these students access to these videos during class, after class, before class. They can get them at any time. So if they're out in the field, they can pull out that phone, watch that video, and then immediately pick up that instrument and use it. So it's just, it's a real advantage to the students, and it's something we didn't have in either CIP or PCI.
Right.
So it is a new thing, and I'm really excited about it. So
Yes, that's a great point. So when they finish their class and they're back at work, whether it's a week, a month, a year later, they still have access to all of that.
They do. They have a digital library, and in fact, I was just looking at it the other day, and those videos are the top views.
That's great.
Out of everything that's in there.
That's great. Well, in this relaunch of CIP1, Alicia, how did we prepare the instructors?
So we pulled the instructors together at our semi-annual or every other year Train the Trainer event held at conference. So this past year it was we were in San Antonio, so we had them in there for a full 2 days. And so we had our pilot instructors. They were teaching our instructors on how to break down and teach this new content. We had the manufacturers there that were showing the new equipment that we have in the course and how to work with it and how to get everything set up. We had new labs, so we walked the instructors through all of how to set up these equipment, how to conduct these labs, how to get the students involved and engaged. So we had good conversation going, and the students were, interactive. That's kind of the key word. We want everything to be really interactive. We don't want it to be passive learning. We want them to be participants in everything that they do when they enter this classroom. So we were working with instructors on how to do that. So we also videotaped it, and we've held online sessions with the instructors that could not be with us in San Antonio, so that we have everybody up to speed and excited to roll out the new course.
Pam, what can you tell us about the feedback from members? Where did that come into play when putting this relaunch together, when working on everything that you did with the manufacturers, the instructors? Where did the feedback come from?
Sure. So with any course rewrite or redevelopment, you're getting student and survey feedback and you're getting anecdotal feedback, but then you need to consolidate that to really understand what needs to be changed, what's new, what new equipment needs to be included, what needs to be taken out, quite frankly. Not much was taken out, but a little bit. And so there were 3 different surveys launched. It went to all of our instructors, went to our manufacturers, and it went to students, where they were able to comment what needs to be updated with the course, what don't you want to be taught? Do you not want to be taught a sling psychometer anymore? And we went through those surveys. Then we pulled together over 100 SMEs. And that's kind of one of the hallmarks of our process at AMP, is that we want courses to be peer feedback. We don't want them to be one individual or 2 individuals. We want to make sure that we're hearing industry, and not only industry in the United States, but industry outside of the United States, because we're a global organization. So it was probably, what would you say, 6 or 8 months of feedback was gathered before we even started working on the course. And then we've been recruiting the SMEs, and they were so generous to donate their time. And I think the result, the new course you'll see, and it's a really good course, and it reflects the needs of industries and our customers.
Right.
So,
We also held us 3 in-person focus groups, very intense workshops where we just ask question after question about what the industry was seeing in the field, where students needed to have more experience, the types of projects they were taking on, so what do students have to be prepared to go out and do. And so that feedback was instrumental in determining the future of this course and what it needed to look like and where we wanted to focus with so many topics. We wanted to highlight the ones that were the most important, as that feedback helped us get there.
So in short, it sounds like this is member driven.
Very much so.
100%. 100% member driven.
Before we get to the last question that I have about what's next for courses, we did have a member submit this question, Pam. I was hoping you could elaborate. They just wanted to know the difference between OQ and certifications with AMP.
Sure. So OQ is operator qualification. And it was introduced, I guess probably 10 years ago, maybe longer, by PHMSA, the Pipeline Hazardous Safety Information and Safety Administration in the United States. And operator qualification is task. So we're going to go out and have you do a task in the field and ensure that you know how to do that task. We're not going to ask you to apply your knowledge. You're not going to take a computer-based test. You're not going to take a practical exam. You're going to do one specific task. Think, I'm going to go out and basically take a ground measurement. That's what OQ is. And again, many of our courses have those tasks embedded in them. So they have operator qualification tasks embedded in them, but we don't teach those tasks specifically. They're embedded in the course.
Okay.
So if you go to ISNetworld, for example, they recognize that CIP meets some OQ task. And so that's kind of how that's the answer, I guess, to that question.
So it's correct to say that your certifications may be used to qualify
Thank you.
for an operator qualification?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yes.
Alicia, what can you tell us about what's coming up next for courses? What's in the pipeline?
So the team is working on a course on CP field techniques and rectifier troubleshooting. This is a topic that came up repeatedly from members during the merger when we were working with members from NACE and SSBC on what should the portfolio look like in the future for AMP. And this was an area that is only touched on in our current CP lineup, and so this is an area that we are going to start focusing on, and this course is about to go into development in the next few weeks, so hopefully sometime in 2023 we will be launching a brand new course on field techniques.
And if I were a member that wanted to be involved with that development, is there a way to be involved or provide feedback? And if so, how would I get involved?
Absolutely. We integrate members at every stage of the process. So we have members that are involved up front, and then we have members that review content, and then we have members that during our pilot stages give us feedback on what we built. And so, yes, absolutely. I would please reach out.
Okay.
We'd love to have you involved.
Just to add a little bit, Stephanie, we're also always looking at emerging topics. So sustainability, concrete, the Surfside collapse, we've been looking at that for some time. We receive feedback about all of those courses, specialty courses on CIP. So there are other things like pipelines that we don't teach today that people are asking for. And lastly, we're always getting a lot of requests for e-courses. What's the next e-course? What can I do from my house?
Right.
And so we're always looking at the portfolio and saying, is there a course that lends itself to being taught in that format? So always a lot of things in the pipeline. Always happy to hear from members and customers who might have ideas about additional courses that we haven't considered yet.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you, ladies, for joining me today for this roundtable. You can find me on LinkedIn, Stephanie Decker. You're welcome to email me, sdecker@tinker-razor.com. If you have any questions you'd like to submit for a future roundtable. And ladies, if you could please advise members how they can reach you.
I could be reached at alicia.yust@amp.org.
And Pam Nicoletti, I'm not going to try to spell that, hopefully they'll put it up on the screen, at amp.org. I'm also on LinkedIn and Twitter, and really love to hear from you, love your feedback, and please reach out.